Hyunwoo Park stared at the message screen for the third time. The words had not changed. They still said the same terrible thing. Earth Command was pulling back all their ships. They were leaving New Busan Colony to die. The red warning light on his desk kept blinking. Outside his office window, he could see the mining platforms floating in space. 50,000 people lived and worked on those platforms. They had come here to dig rare metals from the asteroid belt. They had built homes. They had made families. Now Earth was telling them they were on their own. Hyunwoo was 45 years old. He had been running this colony for 8 years. He had seen good times and bad times, but nothing like this. The Vorthak Empire was coming. The bug-like aliens had already destroyed 12 human colonies. They killed everyone they found. No prisoners, no mercy. The door to his office opened. So-young Kim walked in. She was the head mining engineer. Her hands were dirty from working on the drilling machines. Her face looked worried. "Is it true?" she asked. "Are they really leaving us?" Hyunwoo nodded. He could not find words to say. So-young sat down hard in the chair across from his desk. She put her head in her hands. 50,000 people, she said quietly. "My daughter is only 6 years old." Before Hyunwoo could answer, 2 more people came into his office. Taemin Lee was the security chief. He was a big man with strong arms from his years in the Earth military. Next to him was Yoonji Choi, the head doctor. She looked tired. She had been working long hours taking care of sick miners. "We got the message too," Taemin said. His voice was angry. "The cowards are running away." "Do not call them cowards," Yoonji said. "Earth has to protect the core worlds. If they lose Earth, we all lose. But what about us?" So-young asked. "What about our families?" Hyunwoo stood up from his desk. He walked to the big window that looked out at the colony. The mining platform spread out like a small city in space. People were going about their normal work. They did not know yet that they had been left to die. "How long do we have?" he asked. Taemin looked at his datapad. "Long-range sensors show Vorthak ships 3 days away. Maybe 4 if we are lucky." "What kind of weapons do we have?" "Not much. Some mining lasers. A few security weapons for dealing with pirates. Nothing that can fight a real fleet." So-young looked up from her hands. "What about the mining equipment? The rock breakers? The mass drivers we use to launch ore? What about them?" Taemin asked. "They are weapons if you think about it. The rock breakers can crack open asteroids. The mass drivers can throw things really fast through space." Hyunwoo felt something like hope start to grow in his chest. "Keep talking." So-young stood up and walked to the window. "Look at all those asteroids out there. We have been mining them for years. We know exactly where they are. We know how to move them." "You want to throw rocks at the Vorthak?" Taemin asked. "Big rocks, moving very fast." Yoonji was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "It might work. But even if it does, it will only slow them down." "We need more than rocks. What do you mean?" Hyunwoo asked. "I have been studying the Vorthak, reading all the reports from other colonies before they fell. The bugs are not like us. They have different bodies, different ways of thinking. So maybe they have different weaknesses too." Hyunwoo looked at the 3 people in his office. They were smart people, good people. If anyone could find a way to fight, it would be them. "All right," he said. "Here is what we do. Taemin, start getting our people ready to fight. Use whatever you can find. So-young, figure out how to turn our mining gear into weapons. Hyunji, keep studying those reports. Find their weak spots." "What about the other people?" So-young asked. "The families? The children? We tell them the truth. We tell them Earth is gone. We tell them we are on our own. And we tell them we are going to fight." "They will be scared," Yoonji said. "Good. Scared people fight harder." Over the next hour, Hyunwoo sent messages to all the platform chiefs. He told them to bring everyone to the main assembly hall. It was time to tell 50,000 people that they were going to die unless they could do something impossible. The assembly hall was packed. Families sat together. Parents held their children. The air was thick with worry. Everyone had heard rumors. Everyone knew something bad was coming. Hyunwoo stood at the front of the hall. The crowd went quiet when they saw his face. He did not try to smile. He did not try to make things sound better than they were. "Earth Command has pulled back all military ships," he said. His voice carried to every corner of the hall. "We are on our own. The Vorthak fleet will be here in 4 days." The hall exploded with noise. People shouted. Some people cried. Parents pulled their children closer. Hyunwoo waited for the noise to die down. Then he spoke again. We can run. We have some transport ships. Maybe we can get a few thousand people out before the bugs arrive, but most of us will still be here when they come. So what do? Someone shouted from the crowd. We fight. With what? We are miners, not soldiers. We fight with what we have. We fight with our brains. We fight with our tools. We fight because we have no choice. An old man stood up in the front row. Hyunwoo knew him. His name was Dongsu. He had been mining asteroids for 30 years. You really think we can beat them? Dongsu asked. I think we can make them pay a price they do not expect. I think we can show them that humans do not die quietly. So Young stepped forward. We have advantages they do not know about. We know this asteroid belt better than anyone. We have been working here for years. Every rock, every hiding place Taemin joined her. We have people who are not afraid to work hard, not afraid to take risks. The bugs think we are just another weak species. Let us prove them wrong. The crowd was listening now. Fear was still there, but something else was growing too. Anger, determination. What do you need us to do? Asked a woman holding a baby. Everyone who can fight, report to Security Chief Lee. Everyone else, help Engineer Kim prepare our weapons. Dr. Choi will set up medical stations. We have 4 days to get ready. And if we lose? Someone asked. Hyunwoo looked around the hall at all the faces. These were his people. He had watched their children grow up. He had celebrated their weddings. He had mourned their dead. If we lose, we go down fighting. We make sure the galaxy knows that humans do not give up. Ever. The crowd began to break up. People moved with purpose now. Fear was still there, but it had changed into something else, something harder. So Young came up to Hyunwoo as the hall emptied. Do you really think we have a chance? Hyunwoo looked out through the hall's big windows at the asteroid field. In 4 days, those empty spaces between the rocks would be filled with enemy ships. Alien ships that had destroyed every human colony they had found. I think we are about to find out what humans are really capable of, he said. The first Vorthak ships came out of jump space like black nightmares. Their hulls looked like insect shells, dark and twisted. Bioships grown instead of built. They moved in perfect formation, ready to destroy another human colony. Jin Ho Nam was flying patrol in his mining shuttle when the enemy appeared. He was 28 years old and had been flying these ships since he was 18. His hands moved over the controls without thinking. Old instincts from flight school kicked in. Command, this is Patrol 7, he said into his radio. I count 40 enemy ships, big ones. Copy that, Jin-ho, came Hyunwoo's voice. Get back here now. But Jin-ho did not turn around right away. He watched the alien ships spread out like hungry predators. Their weapons were charging up. Bright green energy built up along their hulls. They are getting ready to fire, Jin-ho reported. The first blast hit mining platform 3. The whole structure disappeared in a ball of fire and metal. 1,500 people had been working there. Now they were gone. Jin-ho slammed his throttle forward. His shuttle shot toward the main colony platforms. Behind him, more green energy beams reached out like deadly fingers. Platform 7 exploded. Then Platform 12, where are the fighters? Jin-ho yelled into his radio. What fighters? Taemin's voice came back. We have mining shuttles and transport ships. That is all we have. Jin-ho reached the main platform just as another blast tore through the space where he had been. The shuttle bay was chaos. People were running everywhere. Families trying to find each other. Workers grabbing whatever tools they could carry. He jumped out of his shuttle and ran to the command center. Hyunwoo was standing over a tactical display. The screen showed red dots moving closer to their position. So Young was at another console, her fingers flying over the controls. Status report, Jin-ho said. We lost 6 platforms in the first attack, Hyunwoo said. His voice was calm, but his face was hard. About 8,000 people. The rocks are ready, So Young called out. Mass drivers are charged and aimed. What rocks? Jin-ho asked. Taemin pointed to another screen. It showed dozens of asteroids moving through space. Big chunks of stone and metal, each one the size of a building. We spent 3 days rigging them with engines and guidance systems, So Young explained. Turned our ore haulers into kinetic weapons. Fire them, Hyunwoo ordered. The first wave of asteroids shot toward the Vorthak fleet. They moved fast, accelerated by the same mass drivers used to launch ore shipments. The aliens saw them coming and tried to destroy them with their energy weapons. They hit some of the rocks, turned them into clouds of dust and debris, but they could not hit them all. 3 asteroids slammed into Vorthak ships. The alien vessels crumpled like tin cans. Biohull or not, they could not stand up to that much kinetic energy. Yes, Taemin shouted. We got them! But the celebration did not last long. The remaining Vorthak ships changed formation. Instead of staying in neat lines, they spread out, made themselves harder targets. They are learning, Hyunwoo said. More green energy beams lanced out from the alien ships. This time they were targeting the asteroids themselves, breaking up the rocks before they could be weaponized. Time for Plan B, So-young said. She activated another set of controls. Suddenly, mining charges all through the asteroid belt started exploding. Chunks of rock flew in every direction. The space around the colony became a storm of debris. The Vorthak ships had to slow down. Their sensors were confused by all the flying rock. They could not get clean shots at the human platforms. Smart, Jinho said, but it will not stop them for long. He was right. The aliens adapted again. They started firing in spread patterns, clearing paths through the debris with sweeping energy beams. Hee-jin, Hyunwoo called to a young woman at the communication station. Are you picking up their chatter? Hee-jin-yoon was Jinho's girlfriend. They had been planning to get married next month. Now she was working around the clock trying to break alien codes. Some of it, she said. Their language is weird, but I am getting parts of their tactical communications. What are they saying? They are confused. They expected us to surrender or run away. They do not understand why we are fighting back. Good. Keep them confused. Yoonji burst into the command center. Her medical uniform was covered in blood. We have wounded coming in from the destroyed platforms. And I found something. What? She held up a data pad showing biological scans. Vorthak tissue samples from their previous attacks. I have been studying them. They have a weakness, tell me. Human diseases. Bacteria and viruses that do not bother us can kill them. Their immune systems never develop defenses against Earth pathogens. Taemin looked interested. How do we use that? Give me access to the air recycling systems on any ship we can board. I can turn their own life support against them. Speaking of boarding, Jinho said, I have an idea. These mining shuttles are not fighters, but they are tough, built to handle asteroid impacts and radiation. What are you thinking? Hyunwoo asked. Ramming runs. Load the shuttles with explosives and crash them into the big ships. The Vorthak will not expect kamikaze attacks. You would die. Maybe. Maybe not. These shuttles have good escape pods. So-young looked up from her console. The aliens are moving again. They figured out how to deal with the debris field. On the tactical screen, the red dots were advancing. The Vorthak had lost 5 ships, but they still had 35. More than enough to finish off the colony. All right, Hyunwoo said. We go to close combat. Taemin, get your boarding parties ready. Jinho, prep the shuttles for attack runs. Hyunji, start cooking up some nasty bugs for our guests. What about the civilians? Haijin asked. They keep working. We need every hand making weapons and ammunition. The next few hours were like a nightmare. Vorthak ships closed in on the colony platforms. Human shuttles darted between them like angry bees. Some carried boarding parties. Others were flying bombs piloted by volunteers. Jinho led the first attack run. His shuttle was packed with mining explosives, enough to crack open an asteroid. He hoped it would crack open a Vorthak ship too. Target locked, he said into his radio. Going in. The alien ship loomed in front of him. It was huge, at least 5 times bigger than the largest human vessel. Its biohull pulsed like living skin. Weapon pods tracked his approach. Green energy beams shot past his shuttle. Jinho twisted and rolled, using every trick he had learned in 20 years of flying. The explosives in his cargo hold made the ship sluggish, but he pushed it to its limits. Impact in 10 seconds, he reported. At the last moment, he hit the ejection button. His escape pod shot away from the shuttle just as it slammed into the alien hull. The explosion lit up space like a new sun. When the light faded, the Vorthak ship was still there. But it was hurt. A huge hole had been torn in its side. Atmosphere was venting into space. Boarding party, go. Taemin's voice came over the radio. 3 shuttles full of miners-turned soldiers shot toward the damaged ship. They carried cutting tools, welding torches, and whatever weapons they could improvise. Most importantly, they carried samples of Yoonji's biological weapons. The Vorthak tried to fight back. The remaining ships focused fire on the colony platforms. But the humans had learned to use the asteroid field for cover. They hid behind rocks and struck when the aliens were not looking. By the end of the first day, both sides had taken heavy losses. The colony had lost 12 platforms and 20,000 people, but the Vorthak fleet was down to 28 ships, and for the first time since they started their conquest, the bugs had met an enemy that would not give up. They are pulling back, Hyejin reported, moving to long range. Why? Hyunwoo asked. I think we scared them. They are sending messages back to their command fleet, asking for reinforcements. Jinho, who had just returned from his third attack run, wiped sweat from his face. How many reinforcements?
A lot.
3 months had passed since the first attack. The Vorthak reinforcements had arrived 2 weeks later. Now there were over 100 alien ships surrounding New Busan colony. The humans were down to 30,000 survivors, scattered across 15 remaining platforms. Hyunwoo sat in the makeshift command center on Platform 1. The original command structure had been destroyed in the second wave of attacks. Everything was improvised now. Salvaged computers, jury-rigged communications, emergency lighting that made everyone look like ghosts. Food supplies? He asked. 8 days left, replied Min-Ho Kang, who had taken over logistics after the previous coordinator was killed. Maybe 10 if we cut rations again. Medical supplies? Unji looked exhausted. She had not slept more than 3 hours at a time in weeks. Almost gone. I am reusing bandages and making antibiotics from mold cultures. Ammunition? We are down to our last mining charges, So Young said. The Vorthak learned to stay out of range of our mass drivers. We have to get creative. Taemin entered the command center. His security uniform was patched and dirty. His face had new scars from the boarding actions. Lost Platform 15 last night. They hit it with some kind of acid weapon. Dissolved the whole structure. Hyunwoo closed his eyes for a moment. Platform 15 had housed 3,000 people, including the school where the colony children had been staying. Any survivors? Maybe 200. Hyejin got them out in the last transport before the platform collapsed. The door opened and Hyejin came in. She was carrying a bundle of cables and electronic parts. Her communications equipment got more makeshift every day as the Vorthak targeted their systems. I've been working on that long-range transmitter, she said. The one So Young designed. I think I can get it working. What is the point? Min-Ho asked. Earth already wrote us off. Who else is going to listen? Everyone, So Young said. Every human colony. Every Earth ship. Every space station. We broadcast our story to the whole galaxy, so they can watch us die, so they can learn from how we fight, Hyunwoo said. Even if we lose here, maybe our tactics can help others survive. A warning alarm sounded. Everyone looked at the tactical display. Red dots were moving again. The Vorthak were launching another attack. Where are they hitting? Taemin asked. Platform 7, So Young read from her instruments. They are trying to take out our last functional mass driver. Not if I can help it, Jinho's voice came over the radio. He was already in his shuttle, leading a group of volunteers on an intercept mission. Hyunwoo watched the display as the small blue dots representing human shuttles moved to engage the red enemy formation. There were only 12 shuttles left, against 30 Vorthak attack ships. Jinho, you are outnumbered 3-1, he said into his microphone. I know. We will have to be 3 times as good. The battle played out on the screen like a deadly dance. The human shuttles were faster and more agile than the bioships. Jinho had trained the other pilots in his hit-and-run tactics. Strike fast, then disappear into the asteroid field before the enemy could respond. But the Vorthak had learned too. They no longer chased individual shuttles. Instead, they used coordinated attacks, herding the humans into kill zones where multiple ships could focus fire. Blue 7 is down, Hyejin reported. Blue 12 is not responding. 2 more shuttles gone. 2 more pilots who would never come home. They are breaking through to Platform 7, So Young said. On the screen, enemy ships reached the platform. Green energy beams lanced out, cutting through the structure like knives through paper. The mass driver exploded in a ball of superheated metal. That was our last long-range weapon, Taemin said. No, So Young said quietly. It was not. Everyone looked at her. She was staring at her computer screen with a strange expression. What do you mean? Hyunwoo asked. The transmitter. Hyejin's long-range communications array. It uses a focused particle beam to punch signals through space, right? Yes, Hyejin said slowly. But it is just a radio transmitter. A radio transmitter that can focus enough energy to reach Earth from here. What if we amp up the power? Use the reactor from Platform 7? Understanding dawned on Taemin's face. You want to turn a radio into a weapon?
Why not?
Energy is energy. Instead of sending messages, we send destruction. Will it work? Hyunwoo asked. I do not know. But what choice do we have? The next few hours were frantic. Teams of engineers and technicians worked to modify Hyejin's transmitter. They rerouted power cables from the damaged reactor. They recalibrated focusing arrays. They did everything by guess and desperation. Meanwhile, the Vorthak pressed their advantage. Without the mass drivers, the colony had no way to hit back at long range. The alien ships moved closer. Their attacks became more precise, more devastating. Platform 3 is gone, Minho reported. Platform 11 is venting atmosphere. How much time do you need? Hyunwoo asked So-young. 2 hours. Maybe 3? We do not have 3 hours. That was when Eunji spoke up. What if we give them something else to think about? Like what? Like a plague. She had been working on biological weapons since the siege began, using human diseases that were harmless to people but deadly to Vorthak. The problem was delivery. How do you infect an enemy that stays in sealed ships? I have been studying their attack patterns, she continued. They always board damaged platforms to look for survivors. If we fake a distress signal, they will send boarding parties. And then they take samples back to their ships, including samples of whatever we give them. It was a desperate plan. It meant sacrificing one of their platforms as bait. But they were running out of platforms anyway. Platform 9 was chosen. It was already damaged from previous attacks. The few hundred survivors were evacuated to other locations. Then Eunji's team went to work. They contaminated everything. The air, the water, the food supplies. Even the metal surfaces were coated with infectious agents. When the Vorthak came looking for humans to capture, they would find death instead. The fake distress signal went out right on schedule. Platform 9 broadcast that its life support was failing, that people were trapped and needed rescue. The transmission was in broken Vorthak language, as if humans had tried to surrender but did not know the right words. It worked. 6 enemy ships moved toward the platform. Boarding pods launched from their hulls. Now we wait, Eunji said. They did not have to wait long. Within hours, the boarding parties were back on their ships, carrying samples, carrying infection, carrying death. The first Vorthak ship went silent 12 hours later. Its biohull started changing color, turning from black to sickly yellow. Then it exploded as internal systems failed. It worked, Taemin said, amazed. But their celebration was cut short. The remaining Vorthak ships pulled back to safe distance. They had learned. Again. They started using long-range bombardment instead of boarding actions. The transmitter is ready, So-young announced. The weapon looked nothing like the elegant mass drivers they had lost. It was a tangle of cables and improvised components, but the power readings were impressive. Target? Hyunwoo asked. The command ship. That big one in the center of their formation. Fire. The transmitter hummed to life. Energy built up in its focusing array. Then it discharged in a tight beam of particles and radiation. The beam hit the Vorthak command ship and went right through it, punched a hole clean through the biohull and out the other side. The ship convulsed once, then went dark. Direct hit. Jinho's voice came over the radio. He was monitoring from his shuttle. The command ship is dead. But their victory was short-lived. The other Vorthak ships immediately adapted. They spread out even more, made themselves harder targets, and they started jamming the transmitter with their own energy weapons. They are learning too fast, So-young said, frustrated. That is the problem with fighting smart enemies. Hyunwoo replied. They get smarter. The situation was getting worse by the hour. They were down to 10 platforms and 25,000 people. Food was almost gone. Medical supplies were exhausted. And the Vorthak fleet still had over 80 ships, sir, Hyejin said quietly. The long-range transmitter. Before we turned it into a weapon, I got it working for a few minutes. And I sent our story. Everything that happened here. All our tactics. All our discoveries. I broadcast it on every frequency I could reach. Did anyone hear it? I do not know. But if they did, they know what we did here. They know how we fought. Hyunwoo nodded. Maybe that would be enough. Maybe their sacrifice would save other human colonies. Outside the command center windows, he could see Vorthak ships moving into position for what looked like a final assault. In a few hours, New Busan colony would be history. But they had made the bugs pay a price. They had shown the galaxy that humans do not die quietly. The message from New Busan Colony reached Earth at 3:47 hours Standard Time. Admiral Dong-hyun Choi was in his office at Fleet Command when the transmission came through. He had been working late, reviewing defensive positions for the core worlds. At first, he thought it was another routine status report. The outer colonies had been going dark for months as the Vorthek advance continued. But this message was different. It was not asking for help or reporting evacuation status. It was a tactical analysis. Dong-hyun played the message again. A young woman's voice came through the speakers. She spoke quickly, professionally, like someone who knew her time was running out. "This is Communications Officer Hye-jin Yoon, New Busan Colony. If anyone receives this transmission, please forward to Earth Command. We have been fighting the Vorthek Empire for 3 months. They left us to die, but we found ways to hurt them." The Admiral sat up straighter. New Busan was supposed to be evacuated months ago. "Kinetic bombardment works," the voice continued. "Use asteroids accelerated by mass drivers. The bioships cannot handle high-velocity impacts. Biological warfare is effective. Human pathogens kill Vorthek in hours. They have no immunity to Earth diseases." Dong-hyun reached for his communication panel. "Get me Colonel Park in intelligence now." The message kept playing. "Psychological warfare disrupts their formations. They expect predictable responses. When we act unpredictably, their coordination breaks down. Hit-and-run tactics work better than direct engagement. Their ships are powerful but not agile." "Sir?" Colonel Park's voice came through the intercom. "I need everything we have on New Busan Colony. Status reports, personnel files, defensive capabilities, everything." "Sir, New Busan was written off months ago. There should not be anyone alive there." "Well, someone is not only alive, they are teaching us how to fight." Over the next hour, more messages came in from New Busan. Technical specifications for improvised weapons, detailed analysis of Vorthak weaknesses, battle reports that read like textbooks on unconventional warfare. But it was not just the tactical information that impressed Dong-hyun. It was the way these people fought. Civilians who had never seen combat were taking on one of the most feared militaries in the galaxy and winning battles they should have lost. "Admiral," Colonel Park came into the office with a data pad. "I found something interesting. The head medical officer at New Busan is Dr. Yoon-ji Choi." Dong-hyun looked at the personnel file. A young woman with serious eyes stared back at him from the ID photo. "So?" "She is your daughter, sir." The data pad slipped from Dong-hyun's hands. He had not spoken to Yoon-ji in 2 years, not since she had chosen to work in the outer colonies instead of taking a position on Earth. He had been angry, thought she was wasting her talents on miners and farmers. Now she was fighting for her life, and from the sound of the reports, she was saving others with her medical knowledge and biological warfare research. "Sir, there is more," Colonel Park continued. "The tactical innovations described in these messages, they are revolutionary. If we could implement them fleet-wide, we could actually fight back instead of just running away." Dong-hyun finished. "Yes, sir." The Admiral stood up and walked to the window of his office. Outside, he could see the shipyards where Earth's fleet was being rebuilt. Hundreds of vessels in various stages of construction. But they were all built for the old way of fighting. Standoff battles with energy weapons and missile exchanges. The New Busan reports describe something completely different. Close-range combat using improvised weapons, biological warfare, psychological attacks designed to disrupt enemy coordination. It was messy and brutal and effective. "Colonel, I want you to send copies of these transmissions to every department head in the fleet. Engineering, medical, tactical, intelligence. I want analysis reports on my desk in 6 hours." "Yes, sir." "And Colonel, start putting together a rescue mission." "Sir, New Busan is deep in Vorthak-controlled space. It would take a significant fleet to..." "Then we build a significant fleet." Over the next few days, the messages from New Busan became the most important documents in Earth's military. Engineers studied the improvised weapons designs. Medical officers researched biological warfare applications. Tactical officers analyzed the hit-and-run strategies. More importantly, the story of New Busan's resistance spread throughout the human colonies. Word traveled from ship to ship, station to station. 50,000 miners had been left to die, but they were still fighting, still making the enemy pay. Other colonies started reporting Vorthak attacks that ended differently than expected. Instead of quick surrenders or hopeless last stands, humans were fighting back with new tactics. Colony ships rigged with explosives rammed enemy vessels. Biological weapons contaminated boarding parties. Improvised kinetic weapons turned asteroids into missiles. The Vorthak advance, which had been swift and unstoppable, began to slow down. "They are adapting," reported Captain Subin Lee from the Titan Defense Station. "The bugs are having to change their tactics, spending more time on each target." "Good," Donghyun replied over the secure channel. "Every day they waste is another day for us to prepare." The preparation was intense. Earth's shipyards worked around the clock building a new kind of fleet. Ships designed for the brutal, close-range combat that New Busan had pioneered. Vessels equipped with biological warfare systems. Kinetic bombardment platforms that could turn any asteroid field into a weapon. But the most important change was in the people. The crews that would fly these ships had studied every report from New Busan. They had learned from miners and farmers and doctors who had held off the galaxy's most feared military for months. "Sir," Colonel Park entered the Admiral's office with the latest reports. "Long-range sensors show massive Vorthak fleet movements. They are concentrating forces in the New Busan sector." "How many ships?" "Over 300. It looks like they are preparing for a final assault." Dong-hyun looked at the tactical display. Red dots swarmed around the tiny blue dot that represented his daughter's colony. 300 ships against whatever New Busan had left. It would be a massacre. Status of the rescue fleet? Project Lazarus is 70% complete. 500 ships, but they need at least another month to finish construction and training. We do not have another month. No, sir. Donghyun made a decision that would change the course of the war. Send what we have. Every ship that can fly and fight. If they are not ready, they will have to get ready on the way. Sir, that is our entire fleet. If we lose them, Earth falls anyway. But if we save New Busan, we save the future. Those people have shown us how to win this war. The launch of Earth's Armada was the largest military operation in human history. 423 ships of various classes, from massive dreadnoughts to converted civilian vessels, all equipped with weapons and tactics learned from a mining colony's desperate fight for survival. Admiral Dong-hyun Choi commanded from the bridge of the dreadnought Seoul's Vengeance. Around him, officers monitored screens showing the fleet's progress. They were making good time through hyperspace, but it would still take 10 days to reach New Busan. "Admiral," the communications officer called out, "we are receiving transmissions from other colonies. They want to join the fleet." "What colonies?" "All of them, sir. Every human settlement between here and New Busan. They are launching their own ships to intercept us." Dong-hyun smiled for the first time in months. The story of New Busan had done more than provide tactical innovations. It had reminded humans throughout the galaxy what they were capable of when they refused to give up. "Signal the fleet," he ordered. "We are not just going to rescue New Busan. We are going to show the Vorthak what happens when you threaten human families." The Armada pushed deeper into Vorthak space. Behind them, colonies that had been written off as lost began fighting back. Ships that had been hiding came out of dark space. Resistance movements that had seemed hopeless found new strength. The bugs had made a mistake. They had left New Busan alive long enough for the rest of humanity to learn from their example. Now they were going to pay for that mistake. The Vorthak final assault began at dawn on the colony's artificial time cycle. 300 alien ships moved in perfect formation toward the 7 remaining human platforms. Only 18,000 people were left alive on New Busan. They had been holding out for 4 months against impossible odds. Hyunwoo stood in the command center and watched death approach. The enemy had learned from all their previous battles. No more close-range engagements. No more boarding actions. Just overwhelming firepower from safe distance. "They are not taking any chances this time," Taemin observed. His security forces were down to 300 people. Not enough to defend even one platform properly. "Can we reach them with the transmitter weapon?" Hyunwoo asked. So-young shook her head. "They are staying out of range, and they are jamming it with interference beams." "What about the biological weapons?" "No way to deliver them if they do not board us," Yoonji said. She looked exhausted. They all did. 4 months of constant fighting had worn them down to the bone. "So this is it," Heejin said quietly. She was still at her communication station, trying to maintain contact between the scattered platforms. Jinho put his arm around her shoulders. "We made them work for it. That counts for something." On the tactical display, the Vorthak ships continued their approach. Green energy was building up along their hulls. In a few minutes, they would open fire. This time, there would be no clever tactics or desperate improvisation. Just the end. Sir, Heejin said suddenly. I am picking up something on the long-range sensors. More Vorthak ships? No, these are different. The signatures do not match. So Young looked at her instruments. She is right. Multiple contacts jumping in at the edge of the system. Large ships. Really large. The tactical display updated. New dots appeared on the screen. Blue dots. Friendly contacts. That is impossible, Taemin said. Earth Command wrote us off months ago. Maybe Earth Command changed its mind, Hyunwoo said. More and more blue dots appeared. Dozens of them. Then hundreds, by all the gods, Jinho whispered. That is a whole fleet. The Vorthak formation hesitated. Their perfect approach faltered as they detected the new arrivals. For the first time in 4 months, the aliens seemed uncertain. Incoming transmission, Heejin announced. Fleet frequency. Earth codes. Put it through. A familiar voice filled the command center, strong and confident with just a hint of emotion underneath. New Busan Colony. This is Admiral Donghyun Choi commanding Earth's Armada. We received your messages. We are here to bring you home, Yoonji gasped. That is my father. Your father is an admiral? Taemin asked. We have not spoken in 2 years. I thought he had forgotten about me. Hyunwoo activated the transmitter. Admiral Choi, this is Colony Administrator Hyunwoo Park. We have 18,000 survivors on 7 platforms. The Vorthak fleet has 300 ships and they are about to finish us off. Not on my watch, came the reply. All units, this is Admiral Choi. Execute Plan Lazarus. Show them what we learned from New Busan. What followed was unlike any space battle in recorded history. Earth's Armada did not fight like a traditional fleet. They fought like New Busan, like desperate colonists who had learned to turn anything into a weapon. The first wave was kinetic bombardment, but instead of using asteroids, the Earth ships launched specially designed projectiles. Chunks of ultra-dense metal accelerated to incredible speeds. The Vorthak tried to intercept them with energy weapons, but there were too many targets. 12 alien ships disappeared in the first salvo. The second wave was biological. Modified missiles that burst open when they hit enemy hulls. Instead of explosives, they carried clouds of weaponized bacteria. The same diseases that Yoonji had, developed in her makeshift laboratory. The Vorthak bioships began to change, color as infections spread through their living hulls. But the most devastating attack was psychological. The Earth fleet did not fight in neat formations. They scattered and attacked from random directions, used tactics that made no sense to an enemy that expected predictable behavior. They are using our playbook, So Young said, amazed. The Vorthak tried to adapt. They had learned to deal with New Busan's improvised weapons, but Earth's Armada was using those same tactics with military-grade equipment. It was like fighting 50 New Busans all at once. Vorthak ships exploded faster than their crews could respond. The perfect formation that had seemed so terrifying minutes before turned into chaos. Some alien vessels tried to flee. Others attempted to regroup. A few even tried to surrender. None of it worked. Earth's Armada had learned from 4 months of New Busan's broadcasts. Every tactic, every innovation, every dirty trick that desperate colonists had used to survive. Vorthak fleet is breaking up, Hyojin reported. They are trying to retreat. Admiral Choi to all units. The fleet commander's voice came over the radio. No survivors, no mercy. They left our people to die. Now they learn the price. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the Vorthak fleet was gone. Not defeated. Destroyed. 300 of the galaxy's most advanced warships had been turned into floating debris. New Busan, this is Admiral Choi. Request permission to come aboard. An hour later, Donghyun Choi stood in the makeshift command center, where 18,000 people had held off an empire. He was a tall man with gray hair and the bearing of someone who had spent his life in command. But when he saw his daughter, the admiral disappeared and only the father remained. Yoonji, he said quietly. She ran to him, and they held each other for a long moment. Around them, the surviving colonists watched in amazement. They had been written off for dead. Now Earth's most powerful admiral was standing in their emergency command center. I got your messages, Donghyun said. All of them. You changed everything. We just tried to survive, Hyunwoo said. You did more than survive. You showed the galaxy how to fight back. Every human colony has been using your tactics. The Vorthak advance has stopped. They are retreating from a dozen systems. Jinho looked out the window at Earth's massive fleet. All those ships came here just for us? Not just for you. Because of you. Your fight here proved that the Vorthak can be beaten, that humans do not give up. Ever. So Young was studying readings from the Earth ships. Admiral, these weapon systems, they are based on our designs, modified and improved. But yes, you turned mining equipment into weapons of war. We turned that into a military doctrine. What happens now? Taemin asked. Now we go home, all of us, and we finish what you started. The evacuation of New Busan took 3 days. 18,000 survivors were distributed among Earth's fleet. Their platforms were stripped of useful equipment and technology. Everything that might help the war effort was preserved, but the most important cargo was knowledge. The tactical innovations, the weapons designs, the proof that humans could adapt and overcome any enemy. As the fleet prepared to leave, Hyunwoo stood on the observation deck of the flagship. Behind them, the asteroid field where they had made their stand was empty now, just rocks floating in space. No sign of the epic battle that had changed the course of galactic history. Regrets? Admiral Choi asked, joining him at the window. About fighting? No. About the people we lost? Every day. They died for something important. Because of New Busan, humanity will survive this war. More than survive. We will win it, Hyunwoo nodded. What about the Vorthak? They made a mistake. They left you alive long enough for us to learn from you. Now every human in the galaxy knows how to fight them. Their empire will fall. The fleet jumped to hyperspace, carrying the survivors of New Busan back to Earth. But their story spread faster than any ship. From colony to colony, from fleet to fleet, from world to world. The message was simple. Humans do not surrender. They adapt. They overcome. They win. The Vorthak Empire, which had seemed unstoppable just months before, began to crumble as human resistance spread across the galaxy. Colony after colony fought back using tactics learned from 18,000 miners who had refused to die quietly. And at the center of it all was the lesson of New Busan. When you leave humans to perish, they become something more dangerous than you ever imagined.